Right, breakfast kills. Bacon is murder.
Hollow Man 2, Quest for the Serum.
Everybody tries to stop him, and nobody knows how to stop it.
Invisible men tend to go a little psychotic when they're invisible.
There's two Hollow Men.
Hi, boss. Hollow Man 1 establishes that there is an invisible man and kind of goes into the science of it all and proves that there is an invisible man. So we got that out of our way, and we kind of take it one step further.
You did it. You're the first.
Our invisible man cannot be compared to Kevin Bacon in the first one. We discover who he is, and we find out that he was sent out to kill political enemies of the establishment.
Sorry, Maggie. To get the opportunity of following Kevin Bacon's footsteps, you know, a guy I really admire and respect a great deal, is nothing but an honor.
I am a goddamn genius.
We have to deal with a lot of rules with being invisible in the movie. For instance, you can't have any clothes on if you're invisible.
There's nobody here.
When you rematerialize, it can be a little embarrassing, because I'm running around naked most of the time, you know? Like I'm an invisible streaker. Gets chilly out there, running around without my clothes. Feel like I'm about to blast off. I feel ready.
As Christian Slater, we had thought about originally for this role because he has such a distinctive voice, and while he doesn't appear as much in the movie because, of course, he's the Invisible Man, he has that voice which is just so recognizable.
You are a true hero, Maggie. Just like me.
Sometimes when it's me just against the invisible space and I'm doing the scene, they can play back his actual voice. And just hearing this disembodied voice has really worked for me.
There's nowhere left to run, Maggie.
I guess lots of actors these days, because so much is done electronically, are used to working with blank spaces in front of them. I'm not quite so used to that. I'm in the old school of working with my fellow actors, and so here I am in this situation, having to work with nobody.
I felt it was much more meaningful to not have the actor of the Invisible Man around for most of the scenes. So we strap our actors into harnesses, we yank them around on wires, we shove them around with poles that we then erase in post-production, and I think it's helpful for the actors to kind of react to a bunch of stunt people, a bunch of wires, a bunch of harnesses and the crane hanging off a crane, and not really having a person to act toward. I think it creates a more honest emotion and reaction.
We were looking for somebody who was able to do special effects and visual effects with a lower budget. And Claudio's great at that.
If you run,
Yeah.
he's held back by her arm.
Claudio. Claudio makes me laugh because he's made up a lot of words in the English language, which don't exist in the English language. Like the word complify. It either means confuse or simplify, and somewhere in the middle, which is very confusing when you think about it.
Cut.
He hit me right away with his enthusiasm for the project, and I knew that it was going to be a good sense of play, and that's always a joy to work with.
It's like a little kid, right? So it brings all the kid in us. We're here to play. It's not so serious. We're having fun. Claudio's also an actor's director. He can ask us to do it 3 or 4 different ways, and it brings out a completely different performance from us each time.
Well, of course, I pay him to say these things. I wish I was an actor's director. I think I'm miles away from that, but I'd like to be at some point, because that's really what it is about, right?
This is the real Michael Bay moment.
Great. Something to aspire to. When I talked to Claudio, he was really interested in making this one a lot creepier than the first one, darker in tone and more suspenseful.
It's all about not showing everything, and kind of withholding information, withholding bits and pieces.
Claudio's vision for the film was to do a modern film noir, but we're still trying to keep it very natural and realistic. So I guess there lies the challenge in, keeping it very moody, but, not too theatrical.
Every day, I'm just a little more dead and a little more visible.
The difference between visual effects and special effects is that special effects happen in camera, they're practical effects, they don't need any further enhancement with computers. And visual effects, anything that needs digital enhancement, falls into the category of visual effects.
Well, on this particular movie, the visual effects supervisor stops visual effects from happening in the first place. On most movies, I think it's our job to just say, yes, we can totally do that. Yeah, we'd love to have that in post. Oh, we'll totally go nuts with that, and we'll fly a camera through a wall, and we'll do all kinds of crazy stuff. But on Hollow Man 2, my job is really to stop visual effects from happening and only be there as a last resort.
On Hollow Man 1, they were trying what were, at the time, very groundbreaking effects, and they were very, very expensive. Now, we're trying to make the effects in Hollow Man 2 look better than the effects in Hollow Man 1, but we're doing it for 1/100th of the visual effects budget that they had in the first movie.
In the film, I die by being hit by a truck. Basically, what I do is back into the street and freeze. Then the camera stops and I walk away. And then they put a dummy there and bring a truck in and kill it, and they put the two together. And I get to see myself being hit by a truck on camera, so that was pretty daunting.
The biggest challenge in doing special effects and CG work is keeping it...
Whatever he says, it's all a lie.
Action! I think our biggest challenges for designing the stunts for Hollow Man 2 were to not rely on CGI, which we do in a lot of shows. Get as far as we can with the stunts and let CGI guys take it over from there.
Footsteps.
What I do is, I use your plate, right, where you guys are doing your performance, and we do the focus pull this way, the focus pull that way, and you guys exit frame. So now I have a clean plate, essentially, for the footsteps.
Let's be ready. When all 7 footprints are in place, we roll on this, okay?
Action!
We take the plate that we shot of the footsteps, everyone jumps out of the way. In the comp, I match the 2 plates together, and then I just reveal the first footstep, then I reveal the second, then the third, then the fourth, and they run towards you in your original performance plate.
Ben's out of a job now. Anybody can do it. Anybody with a laptop.
This is as close as it gets to practical visual effects. Easy. Extremely easy.
We tested all these Hollow Man effects well in advance to find out what can be done which way. For instance, all the car hits, the blood flying on people's faces. In order to find out where to best draw the line and how to distribute all these effects, you would have to go through extensive testing and ask the stunt department to videotape whatever they can do with push-pulls and guide them through what the effects should be, and then kind of pick whatever works best for whatever effect.
Cut. Over the course of the project, we found ways to do things practically that don't involve visual effects.
We lost the brakes.
Whether it's as simple as making a keyboard look like an invisible person is typing by tying strings to the keyboard and drilling holes through the table and pulling on the strings to make the keys go down, or even just like some of these wireframe sweatshirts that we have that look like an invisible man's inside them. So it's been really nice to sit down and work with the stunt guys and work with the special effects guys to find practical ways to do stuff.
Here, this guy's going to be in the car seat, and it's a shot looking through the window to reveal that there's nobody in the hoodie, and this is just a wire frame, and you can, we'll end up moving this with some mono off camera and stuff like that. See, this is like an imprint of a hand, so if you wanted to have the actor being grabbed, we'd glue that underneath his shirt, and it would look like there's a hand tugging on him.
I need that buffer now, Devin.
It's locked in a vault. I can't get to it. Nobody can.
Action. Claudio came up with these techniques of push poles. So they attach these poles to the harness, and basically that's how you're grabbed by the Hollow Man, or you're thrown into a wall by these poles. And it actually makes it look more violent than it would if it was a normal person. Shooting with them is not always as fun as I got knocked in the jaw with one of the poles, but it all looks good.
We were doing with wire gags, which has worked out quite well. We did lots of testing to get these movements down, lots of rehearsing to figure out how these things look. Done properly, wire removal is a fairly smart way to use visual effects.
Mark?
The movie opens up in the ballroom of a more Republican Party kind of event. So we're tossing him around on these on a crane with some wires through harness points pulled through his clothes, and so a lot of the fun about that first day was being in a really nice big grand location and having this quasi-drunk guy get thrown around like a rag doll.
Well, they're just rigging me up to bash me around and send me flying. It's true, actors are just puppets.
B. Mark.
I just like to kill monkeys.
Good night, Doctor.
Go easy on them tonight. I've been drunk before. You don't flail around like this.
Cut.
Maybe he kind of deserves an untimely end.
When I saw you.
And so ends Dr. Devin Villiers.
We've got two invisible men fighting each other in the rain, and that really just is like a wet dream for a computer geek that likes to do visual effects. There's a lot of challenges there. It's extremely difficult to do. It kind of touches on all of the major difficult aspects of visual effects, from recreating the camera moves to water interaction to calculating motion blur for water dripping off of an invisible person's nose, matching animation, putting facial features in there. Those are going to be the ones that really test the abilities of all the people working on it.
We can preserve the water splashes and shit if we use guys in black suits, but the guys in black suits are harder to remove than guys in green suits. If the water spray stuff isn't really advantageous, then let's just go straight to the green suits. Right. We've got green men playing throughout this movie in several different roles, and usually when you see a green man, he's standing in for what will become an invisible man. And sometimes he's actually in camera interacting with other actors, and in that case, he's green because he's easy to pull a chroma key on and remove and then replace with a clean plate, a plate that we've shot that has no actors in it and just has the background.
You know what? Let's quickly shoot a clean plate while you guys punch it out here and somebody cues him.
It was interesting because the studio always, they read this final fight between two invisible people. And we're like, well, how do we keep track of who is who? And to me, it was very obvious how that's going to look. And I always thought, well, no, it's very cool. I mean, it's about the rain, right?
And because they have us in the rain towers for the whole fight scene, it was nice enough for the production to get us a hot tub to warm up in between takes. There's nobody in the hot tub.
Action.
The two invisible men fighting each other, very interesting. It's cool to see the different things that they came up with to show the audience where they are and what they're doing, and just the blood and the veins coming through all of a sudden, and it should be really fun.
There have been a lot of green men around the set. You know, it's a different green man every day, so it's kind of fun.
Working with Christian and designing his makeup was really intriguing as well, because we had to discover the fine line in between where he was going to be CG and where he was going to be reality and practical makeup.
What'd you do to me?
This movie is going to be using a little bit of everything. We've got sequences that are going to be very heavily computer generated, and then we've got sequences that are just going to be paint work, and then we'll have some matte paintings, and then we'll have some just touch-up compositing only type stuff. We're using every trick in the book on the very few visual effects shots that we will ultimately have to do.
But do you think, like, you'd be able to, on this, be able to put that out? Clearly, I am in character, you see? Ooh, floating hand, weird.
That's funny, right? Come on, guys, that's funny.
What would you do if you're invisible?
If I were invisible, I'd like to see things that, you know, we're not allowed to see.
We would all want to listen in on what everybody actually says behind your back.
I'd have a grand old time playing a lot of practical jokes. It'd be very lonely, wouldn't it? I need an invisible woman.
I'll go home and sleep.
Where wouldn't I go? That would probably be the answer.
One always likes to think that one would use one's power to do good in the world.
Whatever I could do illegally, I would do. If I were invisible, I'd be a madman. You know, I should not become invisible. It would be bad for the society.